Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Lambert, host of Myth Vision podcast. His brother left Christianity 10 years ago, and now he knows why. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Cool, welcome to Myth Vision.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you, man. And I really appreciate you. If you're just now tuning in, hit the like button, share this with a friend who might want to hear someone's story about how they went from Christianity to searching for truth and outside that box, and who knows where Joe lands. Let's see. But Joe, I really appreciate you joining me, being willing to be vulnerable enough to share your story and experience. A lot of people, I think, have found a huge community of people who found a life outside, full of meaning, full of truth, full of fun and enjoyment, outside of the Christian faith, of course, as if that's the only way to actually have meaning and truth and whatnot. So, Joe, this is your first time on Myth Vision, but also you've been following us for a while, and
Yes.
I didn't know if you wanted to say something before we begin the story.
No, I've really enjoyed your content and other people's content. It's been very helpful during the process.
Thank you. Thank you. WT Nurse Knows, thank you so much for the super chat, or the not super chat, but becoming a member. Baron, thanks for being a member and being here. Marsha, good to see you. Poddling Dan, good to see you. Let's go. We're about to go. Joe, we're going to talk about your story. We're going to start as youth, from your birth, household, who your parents were, who your father was, like what kind of religious background on a scale from 1 to 10. How serious were they? How serious were you? And we're going to just go on this adventure. You're painting your own portrait here so that we can follow along what happened and where you are today. So,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind, Joe, what I'm going to ask something I usually don't ask, and that is, why did you want to tell your story before we even get to your story?
Sure, that's a great question. I think that for me, when I saw other people telling their story and just giving their input, it was helpful to me. So so I guess I wanted to give back now that I'm over here. I wanted to say, hey, I want to give my part and say maybe this helps somebody.
Yeah.
So
I can relate. I can relate, man. And that goes to my addiction days when I was getting clean off drugs. I made these videos because I was just alone. I felt lonely. I felt like there was hope, but there was also not hope. And I was like, maybe this can help someone. And every time it did, it gave me more hope. So I want to just say this to the people who might watch this, who might be in the faith, outside of the faith, wherever you might be, or in between. We don't have to put a label on it. Show Joe some love, respect, try to see if you can relate to some of the things he has to say. And that can encourage people who, it's easy online to just discourage people, but I encourage you to encourage people, especially when they're being vulnerable. So Joe, who is Joe? Where was he born? What about your parents? What kind of religion? How serious? Please take us into your story.
sure. I was born in Portland, Oregon. Been in Oregon most all my life, but let's see. I grew up with my dad being very Christian in the sense of very conservative.
Mm.
So he was very kind of Bible thumping to a degree. My mom, she was kind of like, and kind of a little bit, and then, but she kind of seemed to lean on the Jewish side, which was very interesting.
Interesting.
So I kind of got a taste of both to a degree. It was mostly a push towards Christianity. That's where most of my time was spent growing up.
And you were Baptist.
Yes, Baptist.
Okay. And
Very
so
much Baptist.
mom was kind of Jewish. Dad was kind of, or really was Bible thumping, you said, Christian. The kind of Christian that would tell people they're going to go to hell if they don't believe this particular way, kind of
You
Christian?
probably would, yes.
How'd your mom and dad, their relationship as far as that part of it went? Do you
Well,
recall?
they butted heads quite a bit.
Okay.
But she was more like, oh, okay, Christianity is fine, but I also want like the Jewish side. And so my mom would take us on Saturdays once in a while to a synagogue in Portland.
What'd you
And
think of that?
what's that?
What'd your dad think of that?
He didn't seem to care too much, as far as I can remember. He very much cared if we didn't go to church, though.
Fine, make your mom happy, but you know the truth.
Exactly.
So how old are you when you actually have like memories that maybe have like a strict religious Baptist memory or even a synagogue memory? Like, and by the way, how religious were you in that?
At that time, so I was preteen, probably around 10, 12, somewhere probably in there.
Okay.
And I I didn't take it that seriously, except, when you're told at that age that, oh, you're going to hell if you don't believe this, or if you
Right.
sin once, you're going to hell. I remember having that memory and kind of being a little scared about it.
A little scared.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. A little, huh? I mean, I can't imagine. It's kind of funny. All these deconversion stories, Joe, that I've had people tell when they bring up hell. I never remember to bring up this book I read when I was a kid called A Divine Revelation of Hell. The freakiest shit I ever read in my life about hell. And I will be honest, it scared me. I had nightmares reading. So if there's anyone in the chat who has ever read this book, A Divine Revelation of Hell, she also had other books, A Divine Revelation of Heaven. Let me make sure I got the name. A Divine Revelation of Hell. My internet sucks, so who knows if I'm
okay.
phone. It's Mary Kay Baxter. So anyway, if anyone ever has read that, they'll know what I'm talking about. So Joe, you're terrified of hell. You're
Yep.
12, 13.
Yeah, around that age, maybe 8 is my earliest memories of probably thinking stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't take it that seriously to a degree because I didn't know as to what I was told. I was told it was true, so I was like, okay, maybe. But other people seem to think other things, so I don't know what I believe. So it was only semi-serious, and
Right.
when you're told something like that as a kid, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna burn in hell if I think this one thought. So
Is that what your preacher was also preaching from the pulpit?
yeah, from my earliest is a First Baptist church, and I remember them saying things like that.
Mm.
And my dad, I think, probably said something like that, and it was just like I was just like, oh man, I better try to behave. And looking back now, it was more of a control thing probably. And
Yeah. So you're a teenager, you're getting ideas that are
Mhm.
things that we as adults have had to
Yeah,
try and deconstruct. And how would you say you were a strong believer at the time as a young man?
no, not really. I mean, as time progressed through my childhood and then going into my teens, I kind of took it a little more serious. Um, Started going to like the youth groups, stuff like that,
Okay.
um, and just kind of being into that, and then going, oh yeah, maybe there's something to this because there's these other people who believe, and like, oh, these adults believe, and so they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So you would trust the adults. They wouldn't be blind and not realize that this isn't true. You're
Right.
just accepting what you're told because they're told and they believe it. My question is too, because we titled this video, His Brother Left Christianity 10
Mhm.
years ago and said nothing. Um, your brother's not here to tell us his story, but maybe
No,
you can help us
yeah,
to get a little
he
background about him.
he might be listening, but so I did
Really?
tell him about it. So I think he was in it more than I was at the time. So
Okay.
he took it more seriously. He kind of I felt like, at least to me, he was kind of the kid who would, you told something and he takes it, verbatim. That's what it means, and that's true.
Hmm.
And so I kind of was like, oh, I don't know, I don't care, but maybe I'll find out later.
How old
Kind of
was he?
attitude.
Was he your older brother?
He's younger by 2 years,
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha. So you're both young teens You're
Hmm.
being told doctrines. Oh, he loves you, but he'll cook you if you don't do the right thing or don't believe in the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and now you're going to youth group. He's probably going to youth group, and you're saying, based on your subjective opinion, he seemed to have taken Christianity a little more seriously than you did.
Yeah, I would say so at the time.
Okay,
Because he was very much, go, follow the rules, do this, do that, and Christianity is true, therefore you gotta follow these rules, etc. And I didn't really talk to him about it at all as a kid, so
right.
we just kind of went our own ways, and we as kids and brothers we didn't always get along, but that's how siblings are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I get it. I can't read my brother's mind, but we were there. We were bros. We were there the whole time. Um, what about your mom? Before we move into anything deeper with you, like mom, you mentioned something unique. I did not know this. Going down the synagogue route over the years, does she continue that?
No, it was, you might call it a phase, I guess, but
Okay,
and for the most part she only went during my kid and teen years. It just seemed one of those things just seemed to kind of stop. I do remember going, being bored, listening to him talk in Hebrew.
that would get old, especially
Oh
if you.
yeah, yeah. I always remember them doing the prayer. They always did the same prayer every time at the end of the synagogue, and they always did it in Hebrew.
Gotcha. Okay, so your mom went through a phase. Did she start attending church or just not didn't go or?
She did kind of both. When she didn't always go to church. And I'm sure there was always times where we miss a synagogue service as well. But um, when my younger ages, she seemed to be more into the Jewish thing, and then later seemed to kind of slowly scoot over into the uh, Christian side a little bit, I guess you would say.
Gotcha. What happened in your teenage years as far as the religion goes? What did you do? Did you start taking it more seriously?
Yeah, as into my teens, I took it a little more seriously, and I even talked with the youth pastor about some things that were going on and my concerns, questions a little bit, and it was very surface level stuff. It was more about my feelings, and he would say, "Oh, Joe, there's a battle between you and Satan that's going on, and you got to do this and that," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
That's you. That's typical.
Yeah.
So you did ask questions. Did you have doubts? What were you doubting? I mean, what problems did you have? Do you remember?
Uh, Back then, everything was still surface level, and I was going back and forth because I knew I started getting some friends that were not Christian at that time, and it was like, well, why are they not Christian? Kind of thinking in the back of my head, um, and I would not hear any good arguments. It was just, oh, we think it's dumb or whatever, and like, oh, I think I might be true, but who knows? But we didn't talk about it with my friends too much, but but I mean, I was going back, and I was very emotionally involved
Mhm.
in the faith at the time. It I didn't know, I never dug deep into it at the time.
Did your church
Uh,
have like music and stuff? Like
oh yeah,
they went all
yeah,
out. They went all out.
yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, for me, and I'm just throwing this out there because maybe it'll give you something that you can tell us about yourself. I wanted answers, had problems, had questions. They had no problem answering those as long as I didn't keep pressing the issue.
Mhm.
But I started watching Christian apologetic stuff to kind of help me go, no, there is a sufficient answer. There are good defenses to these problems throughout my young adulthood. What about you? I mean, what happened to you in your religious life here?
Uh, are you still talking about my teen times,
Yeah,
or?
yeah, yeah. Paint a picture for us. Give us some
Yeah.
length of your story here.
So it just kind of, because my dad was very uh he got upset when we didn't go to church, and when I started growing up as a teen, I started going, "Oh, I don't want to go today," and then he'd get upset and go, "No, we have to go. You're
Mm.
going. We're going to be a family. We're going to go." So, and so so at some point I started actually sleeping in on purpose on Sundays because I didn't want to go, and that would also
Um,
make him mad. He started shaking, "Hey, you need to get up, and we're going to church." And so, I think slowly stuff like that started turning me off to some of it because I was at that point I was only emotionally involved in the religion, so it was hard for me to keep going when I was getting stuff like that when I didn't want to do something.
so you were being pressured to go to church by your parents, by your dad, and that was turning you off to it. It started to cause you to feel like you're being
Yeah,
forced to do it.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Real quick, Nicole, thank you so much for that super chat. Nearly finished watching your Wes Huff post. It's brilliant. Can't wait for a live debate. Sorry for any errors, mistakes during the editing. I mean, I literally rushed out the door. I'm here on family emergency, if you will, visitation with my mother-in-law. Wes won't talk to me, but I would honestly, like, absolutely love to debate Wes Huff. I would have a formal, respectful debate, cross examination, the whole nine. I would do nothing. I mean, like, there's nothing I wouldn't want to like try and have an actual debate with him, but I don't think he'll talk to me. I've tried over a couple years. Sorry, we got derailed here, Joe. Super chats
That's
keep,
all right.
yeah. I'd be happy to debate him, have discussion with him, even if he didn't want to debate. Let's just have a exchange. Maybe we can, you know, patch things up to some extent, but yet still challenge ideas. I don't know. I know Trent Horn and we're going to plan something sometime in the middle of this year. So I'm going to go see him in his studio and we're going to have a discussion. So we'll see how that goes. But I really appreciate the super chat.
Yeah, I was watching your channel when the whole Wes Huff stuff was going on. That was
Ah,
crazy.
yeah. That it goes back a few years. I mean, he made a few fumbles, but he rose to the top very fast. And of course, just went down the golden path, the golden ticket of let me give you my Christian apologetics, and gave him a green light all the way to the top. And that's why he's been on all these podcasts, because I think right now the current climate is Christian, skeptic.
Yeah.
No. Christian, skeptic.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, when the climate changes again, hopefully it will. People who question get more attention that they deserve. But yes, Nicole, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate the support. It keeps the lights on here and allows us to do these kind of things with Joe. Joe,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to distract if super chats come in. I'm just jumping back
That's
forth.
perfectly fine. You're all right.
So
Welcome
I had
to
this
super chats.
yeah, please super chat in any questions, comments, whatever. I struggled with the same problem that you had. My mom would bribe me with a buffet at Golden Corral. I'm sure you know what Golden Corral is.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. I'm not sure I've been there, but I think I've heard of it.
All you can eat buffet.
Yep.
But I was younger. I didn't want to go. It was boring. I didn't care for it. When I got into my teenage years, I took Christianity more seriously, but I had trauma in my family, my alcoholic father and all of that. So this Jesus message really resonated with me. That's a whole nother story, getting my story. So with yours, though, I'm curious to know, like, you're starting to get more and more like, I'm not wanting to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? I mean, someone who's a Christian might go, well, he couldn't have never been a real Christian to not want to go to church. Tell us.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that time, I don't even know if I would have identified myself as a real Christian. I mean, because there was times where, I didn't know what I believed. So
Right.
it kind of was you might even call it a phase as growing up and just what I was being told. And so I had to take some things on faith in what I was being told, and so I took that for what it was, and then tried to make sense of it, and then shrugged a lot of things off and didn't care at some points. And so there was a point in time where I kind of slowly shifted from not caring more.
How old were you?
man, I can't. It's like evolution. You can't say there was a specific time. So
Yeah,
it
can you
just,
recall like late
I
teens,
would,
20?
I would say, I was in high school at the time.
Okay.
So I would say mid or late teens.
What about your brother?
He was still a Christian. He
Okay.
was very much Christian. He when I was finishing high school, I kind of at that point I was definitely more like I don't care about Christianity anymore.
Interesting.
I have different friends now,
Okay.
and I hung out with some people that I probably shouldn't have. I'm
I
sure
mean,
you can maybe relate.
maybe.
um,
I
I
might
mean,
have been one of those friends.
yeah. So I mean, started drinking a little bit. Um, did a little bit of weed even after high school.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it too much, so I just kind of quit.
Yeah.
um, but the alcohol was still a little bit of a thing. Did some things I probably shouldn't have um, after high school. So at that point, I was like, I don't care about Christianity. I never even considered myself an atheist because I didn't know what an atheist was.
So you just had more like a if I were to paint you at this time in your life, you know about all these ex-atheist converted to
Mhm.
Christianity types that say, "Oh, I was an atheist," but really
No, I
they
didn't even
had
know then.
okay, I'm just
So,
saying
so
like
my story is going to kind of take a little bit of a coaster, you might say.
okay, that's fine. I
Yeah.
just think it's important to point out there are a lot of people who converted to Christianity that did not really know Christianity in depth,
Yep.
not
Yep.
from a critical standpoint. They weren't deep atheists either. They weren't like deeply embedded into atheism, like you were just saying. Like I was in this like I don't really care phase, so to
Yeah.
speak. Like,
Yeah. You might call it that.
okay, what
Yeah.
happens? Jesus shows up, right? Kidding.
Yeah. Like I had a dream. No. Uh, so so I'm in this phase. I start to go do a little bit of college, and I'm like trying. Okay, I need to get away from some of these friends. I need to go to college. Try make my life into something because my parents didn't help me out with the life aspect too much, so I had to kind of figure things out on my own, you might say. So I'm trying to figure life out on my own, and so I'm growing up with certain friends and um, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a career and all of that. And then I am I'm working at a dealership as a mechanic, and I also yeah. So my brother's going to college at this point. I just finished some college, and and I'm working at a dealership, and I'm going to my brother's graduation because he's graduating from his college.
Mhm.
And what happened was, he was still a Christian at this point. I'm just like the black sheep. I'm wearing the leather jacket and all this, and so he's very much like, hey, I read this book and it's really good, and it's the Lee Strobel Case for Christ. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm like not caring too much, and he said, you should read it. And I go, oh, I guess I could read it. Um, why not?
Yeah.
And so I start reading this book, and also at this point, I don't know what I want in life. I'm still trying to figure some of that out. I'm in my early 20s, and I'm trying to. I get a little bit of depression, and so I'm like, okay, I'll read this book. Maybe it'll help.
Right.
So I read the book. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be inquisitive and look into this book and see what is Lee telling me. And so he, I don't remember what point in the book it was, but there was some point where it was something about if you ask God for this, then He will provide or give you an answer, such and such. And He mentions that it's in the Bible. I'm like, okay. So I go to that point, and I'm sitting there going, if this is true, then I should be able to pray to God in my own room. Nobody knows I'm doing this. I didn't tell anybody. And then I ask him, okay, I want you to give me a sign that you're really real. Show me something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do this, and I'm sincere. I don't mean to challenge you because you're God. That I want you to show me something that no one else, that can only be from you, right? So I do that, and then I'm working at my job, and it was like 2 weeks later, this guy comes up, into the shop and says, "Here, I have a Bible and God for you." I don't remember the exact words he said, but being my naive self, I went, "That must be the sign."
I think that's human though, bro. I think
Yeah,
so many of us
yeah,
have done that. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, this must be the sign from God. He put it in his heart to send him to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took this, and I went and I ran with it. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I asked a few questions from some people, and I found a church through a friend at the time, and I was like, okay, I'm going back to this Baptist church again, and I'm on fire for God now.
Right.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm thinking I have the truth. And I started going to Sunday school. I started going to church. I started getting involved. And I'm trying to learn from the Sunday school and ask questions. And they have all these answers. And I'm going, oh man, this is great. So they know all this stuff that I didn't know. And I even get into some uh, what's it called, apologetics, you might say,
Mm-hmm.
and the wrong kind, I would say. But it was, have you heard of Kent Hovind?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I used to watch him
yeah.
when I
So
was like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah.
yep, yep. So I mean, he has stuff that's 40 years old still, but
Yeah.
uh, he he I got, and someone gave me some of his videos,
Mm-hmm.
and so and that, you could say, reaffirmed my belief and a little deeper into my, like, oh, this is what they're trying to hide, and this is what makes Christianity true, and so on and so forth. And I got deep into that, and that was kind of a mistake.
Right. Right.
But that kind of, you might say, he kept me in the faith.
Right. So how old are you now, would you say?
I'm still in my early 20s, 21, 22.
What about your brother? I mean, obviously not as how old he is. He's a few years younger,
He's still
but
a Christian,
still
if that's
staunch.
what you're asking.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's still Christian, and I tell him, like, hey, I'm saved now and everything, and I'm telling certain people, and oh, that's great, because most of my family was religious at the time still. And then I get baptized because I talked to the pastor, and I'm like, yeah, I want to tell everybody. And so yeah, I believe, and so I get involved in the church a little bit more. I'm helping out with like communion and passing the offering plate and all of that. And I also get involved in this. They say, hey, we got a class that's going on, and
Right.
it's an evangelical class.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have this class where we're gonna learn some stuff. I'm like, great, that sounds awesome. More opportunity to learn more. And then I found out later that part of this class was where, hey, we're gonna go out and we're gonna start knocking on doors. I went, oh, okay, that's a little out of my comfort zone, but all right. I and at the time I felt like I was a JW or a Mormon, and I'm like going, well, I don't. This isn't known for First Baptist Christians to be doing this, but
Mm-hmm.
it says it in the Bible, and that was what we're supposed to do. And I went, okay. So, and a part of it felt wrong at the time, but I like, well, it's just the devil fighting me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to do this. I need to push harder and push through this and do it and all of that.
I will say it is odd that you had door knocking as part of your Baptist
Mm-hmm.
church's like agenda, so to speak. You don't usually see that.
No, I thought it was very odd at the time, and it only lasted for so long because they did it for a while, and I think it was something they tried,
Yeah.
and I don't know how. I think at some point it just stopped because people stopped going to the class, or something happened with who knows, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually it stopped, and so I'm going to church, and I meet more people in the youth group and the Sunday school, and that's where I met my wife, or now wife, and so I had to get the guts to ask someone out because I was like, I don't want to be alone. They're like, I have God, but I still have that place where He wants me to have somebody.
Right.
So, I meet her, we get married, and I did the whole approach her dad, permission, all of that, 9 yards, and so he was proud of me for doing that, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do because I'm traditional, and
Right.
yeah,
I did the same thing.
yeah,
So you're getting married, trying to do the godly thing,
mm-hmm,
traditional, all of that. Your brother's still devotional.
yes.
How old are you?
When I got married, I was 23, 24, I think,
Okay.
and so yeah, I think it was 24. But anyways, so I'm still doing the whole Christian thing. We're going to church, we're uh like, yeah, we're trying to decide, what do we want to stay at this church? Do we want to go to a different church? We tried some other churches even while I was married, and I'm just living life, trying to work, provide. We're looking to have kids and all that, and I go to more schooling, uh, and I guess you could say I'm just trying to. I kind of slowly went up, and then I kind of slowly came down, and I'm like, okay, I got on fire for a little while, but now I'm kind of relaxing a little bit on my Christianity. I'm just a Christian now. I even evangelized to a few people, and that felt good at the time because you're like, yeah, I helped get this guy to Christ, and uh,
So what so you're going up and down in terms of how sincere, but you believe this whole time. You haven't
yes,
not believed ever since Lee
right,
Strobel tricked you with his
yeah.
book, because
So
I've
I
read
mean,
it too.
yeah, even during this time, questions would come up. They would talk about certain things, and I would go, "How do you reconcile that?" And then they would come up with this, like their whatever excuse, and I would kind of go, "Kind of makes sense," but I guess I shrug it off and I'll go, I'll learn about it later. It's gonna make sense later when I learn more, kind of thing. And you just shrug them off.
Yeah.
You don't always think about them too hard.
Yeah. So you're getting older. You're
Hmm.
still ministering and whatnot. You're in your mid-20s, and you just decided I'm going to be a Christian the rest of my life, and you've been a Christian the rest of your life, right?
Well, you'd think so. That's what I would have. That's what I was. That's what I thought. But because during this time, that's when I became a real believer. That's when I was on fire.
You
And
would say you were really like, I went to
yes,
altar call. I am legit bona fide now on fire.
yep, yeah. The first when I was a younger kid, it was like, whatever. Then I became, my rebellious teenage years, and then had more questions, and then I went, "Oh, God is real," and and then I was a believer. I'm raising a family, and then and we're all just hanging out doing the Christian stuff, and then later in life, I guess if you want to get to the point where I start doubting.
Yeah, I mean,
But
because the thing is you also, when we went to write this title, you were like, my brother
yes.
left Christianity, and I'm like, so we're
Oh
hearing
yeah.
about Joe, but we don't know anything about what happened to your brother either. We want to
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. Let me backtrack just a hair then. So during this time, and I don't remember. He said it was 2010 when he started doubting,
Okay.
but I didn't find out till maybe a year or two later. And so, and then at that point, I'm like, oh, and then asking him questions, going, what's going on? And he's telling me about like, oh, like yeah, this evolution thing doesn't make sense. And that was one of my pillars, and
Yeah.
so I go, and then I'm sitting there going, well, I know all the answers, Kent Hovind this, Kent Hovind that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we talked about it here and there. So uh and we never agreed on anything at that
Mm,
time. So but I mean that wasn't even one of my pillars was evolution. It wasn't one of my pillars to holding my Christianity. It was the truth in what the Bible says.
right.
It's like I was relying on that as being truth. So so we would butt heads on that a little bit after he became an atheist. He came out kind of slowly and said, "Yeah, I don't really believe anymore." And so I'm talking to him once in a while, and it just we never amount to anything. It's just discussion. We try to be friendly about it because we're brothers. We're trying to be friends and all that. So it doesn't come up until my father-in-law suddenly died.
Sorry to hear
And
that.
yeah, and so because my real dad was, you might say, not always there. He was in his own world, like very much being a staunch Christian, and
Mm-hmm.
and wasn't always there for the kids, or his kids, I should say. And so my father-in-law became like my uh, the guy who I looked up to as a dad, kind of a father figure. So that when he died suddenly, it was out of nowhere. He had a stroke or a heart attack. They're not sure, but he just overnight was gone, and it was out of nowhere, and it hit me hard. I didn't take it well, as anyone else would know if they had that happen to them,
Yeah.
especially with someone they love. And so at that point, I'm in my emotions, but I'm sitting there going, at the same time thinking, why did this happen?
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, and I'm asking people, and they go, well, God took him; it was his time. And I'm sitting there going, that doesn't make any sense, because not only was he involved in the church, he was a deacon in the church. And this guy, he was even in a program helping teens. He was in the meetings. He wanted to help. He was always there doing stuff for other people. And I'm going, well, not only should he be here for his family, but he was doing God's work. He was doing everything he could and doing it right and being the prime example for a Christian. And knowing all that, hey John.
Yeah, John, good to see you in the chat. His brother is here, so please continue.
So at that point, I'm asking people. I go to my pastor, and I go to another pastor, and that I'm getting the same answer. You know, it was just his time. I don't have beyond that. I don't have a good answer for you, and stuff like that. I'm just going, this doesn't make sense. And so I start to, and I've mentioned this to my wife. We're talking about it, and she's like, well, you need to talk to more pastors and stuff. And I go, okay. And then so I talked to a third pastor, and and I talked. and I'm getting the same answer. No one has a good answer. I'm going, I need a better answer than this. And so I'm kind of very slowly struggling through years after this,
Mm.
thinking about, reasons, and so I'm trying to figure out a justification for all of this. And slowly I was like, this is just starting to not make sense at all.
Wow. So you must have had a really close relationship with this man, and
I did.
it wasn't just that; it was very Christian close
Yes.
relationship. It wasn't just I love the man as a man because he's my father,
Yeah.
but like you also probably prayed together, had a lot of Christian talk, and you
Yep.
thought, how would my God, which is the Christian God,
Mm-hmm.
take away one of his special,
Yeah.
people? And it just
Yeah.
didn't add up.
Yeah. I'm just going, there's a reason for it, and it was his time. I'm going, no, no, it wasn't. That doesn't make any sense. From what I knew, it didn't make any sense at all. So I'm thinking through this whole thing, and I'm trying to make sense of it. And as time goes by, I'm not wanting to let go at the same time, but at the same time, I'm like, what's going on? So I struggled for this for years.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I finally go, and this is after 5, 6 years, I'm struggling with this and just trying to make sure I make a right decision. So I have the thoughts every now and then, trying to make sense of it. And it wasn't until I finally, I started getting more involved in YouTube, scrolling through my phone, and then this random YouTube channel comes up, and it's Alyssa Grenfield, who's her YouTube channel, and she's a ex-Mormon,
Right.
and she tells her story about how she left the Mormon religion. And so I went, well, I'll listen to her what she has to say, because it's a kind of a parallel to what Christianity would be. Obviously I don't believe Mormons are correct, but
Yeah. Of course.
of course I have the
Yeah.
real. Anyways, so I listened to her story, and it comes down to she's all going, yeah, I questioned this, I questioned that, and I go, and this is what led me to being an atheist. And I went, oh, interesting. Okay, so, and then my thought occurred in my head during that process of, if she can do this with a false religion, then maybe I can do it with my own, and question my own in the way that someone else would question it. Ask real answers, and there should be real, or ask real questions, and I should get real answers, right?
Right.
So I went, okay, I'll search into something else. And so I started scrolling through, and then I eventually find Brandon, who has the YouTube channel Mindshift.
Yep.
And you have had him on your channel before.
Yes.
Great guy.
Yes, he is.
So shout out to him. And he went through his deconstruction stories, and I'm starting to suck all this information in after listening to Alyssa, and I'm listening to Brandon now. And I listened to his deconstruction story, and then when I start listening to him, he also goes through some of these, fallacies in the Bible and
Right.
stuff like that. And I'm sort of going, I'm just going to hear the same old things I always heard in my other, when I was a Christian. I'm going to hear the same old arguments, right?
Right.
Wrong. So when I get into more involved in it, he's asking questions about things that I didn't even think about asking. And I'm sitting there going, what is going on? I didn't hear any of these arguments before. And what he's starting to say is making more sense than what the Christians are saying now. And I go, how do I make sense of that? And so I'm getting involved into more people, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, that doesn't make sense. That passage doesn't make sense now. Why? I didn't even hear about this passage in the Bible.
Yeah.
And and then when you ask about certain questions about other passages in the Bible, about Genesis and the flood, and I'm going, yeah, that doesn't make sense now that you put it that way. And so I'm sucking in all this information. I'm listening to stuff at work. I still do. And I'm going, okay, there's got to be more people out there that are like this. And so and I got to get more information from not just this one guy. That would be, you know, not good looking, because I got to get more people involved and like, okay, who's arguing for this, arguing for that? I'm starting to see debates and stuff, and I'm going, okay, this is cool. And then the next channel I run into after Brandon is yours.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to yours and I'm going, oh, this is pretty cool stuff too. And it was a different take on, not, it wasn't just Bible fallacies and contradictions. It was, you know, this is what happened in other myths and not just the Bible. And this is, and you start correlating myths with the Bible. And I'm going, oh, this is very interesting. I didn't know some of this stuff. And then I remember one time you mentioned the Epic of Gilgamesh and Dionysus. And I'm going, who?
You didn't know.
And then you start talking about how there are parallels to stories in the Bible with these myths, and that how the Epic of Gilgamesh was written before the Bible. And I'm going, what? How
Yeah.
could that, if I thought the Bible was the ultimate truth and was the first truth ever to be told, how can there be stories before this? And so that was one of the huge hits to me. And I was at that, it was around that time that I started thinking all these things together, because I started thinking I had this much of stuff I was expecting to find
Mm-hmm.
of arguments, and then I found all this other crap that I was finding that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And the mountain just kind of crushed me, and my pillars fell.
So what happened? So clearly we saw what happened with you, and there was just too much information to not. You already knew with the answers they couldn't give you on basic stuff when you were in that bubble. I mean, their answers were more like, stop asking questions, just give it to God and let God. Like how can I let go of someone so close, so deep, and such a man of God in my life that you're gonna just give me this? Here's a non-answer. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Then combine that with the fact that you now know way more information, or you're coming across way more information. We're in the information age, and you're in this situation. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah. And I guess when I really started questioning, that's when I really became serious about the religion, you might say. And I had to look at it for what it was. And and I thought that if this is really true, then it's going to stand the test of scrutiny. And I have to find out what other people are saying about it. What are experts saying about this? And so I had to go to experts on, like, channels. I didn't know where to go. So you're muted, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
And so I was like, I need to find out what are experts saying. What are other people who have deconstructed saying? What are simple non-believers saying? And why are they saying it? How much of it is their emotional opinion versus what's true?
Right.
So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about your brother real quick. And before we do, I just want to say in the chat, we've got two chats. We've got the vertical chat, and we got the horizontal, which is the phone. Someone asked about Jay Dyer in the chat here. They're having an argument, I guess, with people in the chat here. And by the way, Benny Hinn, I'm happy to do debates. Actually, I've started to do them myself more and more, and I'd be more than happy to. The problem is Jay Dyer doesn't want to debate. He wants to debate on worldview, presuppositional bullshit. He wants to talk about tag. He won't debate anyone outside of tag.
Yeah.
He does not want to debate Professor Dave on science, anything scientific. He doesn't want to debate me on Christianity and Jesus, New Testament material or Christianity. He's already denied that. He was willing to debate Neil, but Neil had to step into a worldview debate. So Benny, trust me, don't undersell. I can perform quite well. He just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it in areas that I understand, that I actually know the material in. He wants to play word games with his tag stuff. And
Absolutely.
there is someone who will that actually knows this material quite well. I don't know if he'll actually debate him. We'll see. But he's supposed to be debating Jim Bob soon. So we'll see what happens with that. At the end of the day, I just figured I'd address that. But what about your brother, though, at this time? So your brother, going back real quick, your brother, who already was doubting long before you came to the conclusions you're now at, going, man, there's more questions than answers. I'm not convinced of this anymore. How does your brother get vindicated? I mean, you have to be like, bro, what did you say?
So I guess you could say that the same way I became a Christian, I didn't want anyone to know my thoughts. I was like, I want to figure this out on my own. I need to figure this out. So I didn't. So in order to not let people think that I was going to my brother or someone like that I wasn't being influenced by someone I knew. So I didn't even tell him about any of this until I had made my decision.
Right.
So, and so he didn't even know any of this was going on. And so when I finally made the decision, I came out and I talked to him about it for a little while, and we had a discussion, and we just kind of talked about it because I just wanted to let him know.
Right.
So,
how did that conversation go?
It went pretty well. It basically just came down to, oh, that's good, but he kind of gave his side about why he didn't believe anymore and stuff, and I'm still learning things early on because his reason was evolution. So I'm thinking, well, that wasn't really one of my reasons, but I still have to look into evolution, and because I don't know what I think about it now, because I had this whole preconceived idea about evolution, and so I took that one. That was one of my next steps.
Right.
Later in learning and going. I mean, that was later because I had to figure out, okay, if God didn't create us, then where did we come from? Yeah. So I had to look more into evolution and get more information on that.
Yeah, that starts to really.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. People will hold on and do anything they can to make sense of this. I mean, life is kind of freaky to look at and see how it evolved. But when you really think about it from so many angles about the cannibalism of life itself, I mean, life itself is cannibalistic. It's not like all life survives through photosynthesis. Like,
right.
It needs to eat itself. All these, like the suffering involved in life. It's just, there's all sorts of problems that I think that evolution makes me go, would a intelligent creator do that instead? Or would naturalism best explain what we're seeing and stuff? So yeah, I'm with you. Very, very interesting to see how that played into your mind, especially Kent Hovind being your kind of template you worked with earlier,
So I definitely did a mind shift during this whole thing because I had to refigure out what did I really believe.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if this isn't true, and for all these obvious reasons now, what is true? And how do I know it's true? So I had to figure all that out on my own. Well, not on my own, but I came to certain conclusions, and I had to think about them. And what was that chat about?
I was just saying, I love the way Joe says my pillars had fallen.
Yeah. So, I mean, Alyssa Grenfield in her channel, she talks about, in Mormon talk, they call it a shelf. And so, and they describe it as a shelf. When you get all these doubts on top of the shelf, eventually it collapses and breaks. And I guess I kind of thought it as pillars because I have these main pillars of belief that hold my Christianity up. And then one by one, they started falling. And then when the last one fell, I said, I can't believe this anymore. There's no reason to.
Yeah, I get it. PLWK, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Number one, what's the Achilles heel of Christianity? And two, what would your response be if a loved one tried an emotional pill to reconvert back you on you in their final hour of life? Thanks.
Oh, two-part question. Thank you for the super chat. See, what is the Achilles heel of Christianity? I would say the lack of proof and the contradictions in the Bible. And so, and you ask the right questions in the Bible when you go to certain verses, you cannot make sense of them. And I found out that when you try to make sense of, oh well, this means that, and that's hyperbole, and well, we believe this for this specific thing, and then you have to apply that reason to other parts in the Bible, and then that doesn't make sense then. So there's a lot of stuff like that you have to go back and forth, and you go, okay, when you pile it all up, it doesn't make sense altogether when you try to justify certain specifics, and you just can't do it. And you have to go in a whole bunch of detail. I'm not prepared for any of that, but
yeah. I'll give my answer, but I want to get your thoughts on the second part too. What would your response be if
a loved one tried to emotionally appeal to reconvert back you on? Okay. I would tell them, and they've already tried. So I'll tell you that. I've had conversations with my older sister and my father, and they both had their own takes on it. There's been emotional appeals to it, and I tried to tell them that no, my decision isn't based on emotion now. My decision is based on what we know to be factual, what we know to be true now, and you can give the arguments and reasons for that, and it can be shown. So if there was an emotional appeal on my deathbed, I would say that, like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But
I think it's on their deathbed. I think that's the question. It's
is it on their deathbed?
Yeah. How would you, if your loved one who I think is dying or is in their final hour, how would you respond to them as they're saying goodbye? You see what I'm saying? If they're trying to appeal to this.
Okay.
That's a little different though. Because I'll tell you this.
Hard.
I had a friend, I'll give you an analogy. This is a good super chat. I had a friend who overdosed, died. They found him brain dead. He wasn't brain dead yet, but he had so much lack of oxygen to his brain, there was no coming back. And so his sister called crying and was saying God took him from this earth because he was too good, right?
Yeah.
I didn't go, hold on, first of all, show me where God is, prove to me that God even exists. No. I just went, you're right. And then they were so comforted, like, because of the trauma of losing her brother, that, she kind of just went out with that. Well, for me, I feel like I would just make this person feel comfortable and happy and satisfied as they're leaving. Because to me, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day as far as that's concerned. You know what I mean?
I guess I would put it this way. My grandpa is still alive. He's in his late 90s. So he likes to have conversation. So in their thing, whether it's political or religious, it doesn't matter.
What grandpa doesn't?
Right? So I guess I would treat it like that. I would kind of go, yeah, okay, that's nice.
Right.
And and I might be nice to them. But in my mind, I'm not gonna be thinking they're correct by any means.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make them comfortable and be sad that you're going. And if they want to say I'll see you later in the afterlife, I'll go, all right, I'll see you later.
I'll say this. I agree with you. And I think that's what I would do for their final moment. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. At that point, it's not about me.
Yeah. I feel like it's a bit it's sad that the ideology would be so abusive that it intrudes your final moments where they go, they're worried you're going to go to hell in a few minutes. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, that's how sick it is to me. But the first one, I would say the Achilles heel for me to Christianity. And when I say Christianity, I'm not talking about the most liberal progressive ones. I think critical scholarship. And I want to make a broad comment to say that, because we can go down the contradiction route. We can go down not only the contradictions within the text that are not cohesive, they don't go together. They don't, you shouldn't read this as a univocal text, but even the fact that the Hebrew Bible predicts certain things about the Messiah, certain expectations that do not appear or take fruition within the New Testament when they were supposed to happen at the time that the Messiah was supposed to come, according to Israel's scriptures, right? You could go down this so many different paths, in my opinion, but to show that Jesus does not fulfill the things that are predicted in the original context of what was expected, you have to twist and make it mean something else in various passages. That's very problematic to me, but there's so many problems. That's why I just say critical scholarship, I think, is the Achilles heel. And even when Bart Ehrman goes, well, when I found out all these contradictions and problems, I still remained a Christian until he found out about the problem of evil. I have a big, for me, critical scholarship. Like, I don't know why Bart held on after he found out what he found out. Like, he needed some philosophical thing to come in and say, oh, well, the problem of evil, that makes a problem for God. Therefore, he could drop the Christian thing. For me, when I started to deconvert from my fundamentalism, I still held on to a concept of God, but I stopped being a Christian. I had a much broader philosophy, and God got bigger, but it wasn't attached to the revelation we call the Bible, and for many reasons. So that, I think the Achilles heel is what we're doing here in terms of myth vision.
And I discovered quickly that the problem of evil was a way bigger deal than I ever imagined it was when you start thinking and looking into it. And it became a very big problem for me as well.
Thank you so much, PLWK. Really appreciate the super chat. So we're getting close to, wrapping up here, and I want to allow you, Joe. You found a lot of problems.
I did,
and you realize, like, if they could answer this back here in a sufficient way, and all these problems arose, and you probably tried to find some solutions, I imagine, to some of those problems. But like, what happened in your thinking, and where are you at today?
So today, I've heard people say that like, oh, I'm a agnostic atheist and stuff like that, and I know Eric Peterson said he was, and I had to think about that. I was like, okay, what is an atheist exactly? I had to learn the definition. So I said, okay, what's an agnostic now? And so I had to think about it, and I actually came to the very recent conclusion that I'm just simply an atheist. And the reason why I say that is because if there was really a God out there, no matter what religion he might be, I think that there should be some sort of evidence for him at some point, because he should be involved in us at some point. And if we have naturalistic explanations for how we got here, that shouldn't be there to some point. So it's like if there was a God, he should be here. He should be known to some degree. There should be something, at least something obvious that there's a God, and people will make arguments for that, but it's like, no, I don't buy that. There's no way to know. There's no way to know for sure, but we also don't know that there is, and there's no way to know for sure. But I think that if there was, we should know something.
Yeah. Interesting way to put it. Victor Engelman says, thank you for the super chat. An agnostic is someone who doesn't know that they are an atheist. Aaron Ra. I think it's Aron, but I know, obviously, we know who Aaron Ra is. I think that I've heard it said that, when you're talking about knowledge claims, like having knowledge claims, agnostic is what a lot of atheists identify in knowledge. But as far as a deity is concerned, being theist or non-theist, atheist, they would say that atheists can be both, that agnostic is a different category than I don't believe in a God. So
Mm-hmm.
not believing in a God or believing there is no God depends on the form of that
Yeah.
definition that you want to go with. Um, it depends on how you want to portray this whole thing. And so
Yeah.
you ultimately landed on, I do not think that there is a God until evidence, of course, supports that idea.
Yeah.
You're going to remain an
And
atheist.
yeah, and I'm more than happy to look at someone's you know, evidence for a God.
Yeah.
But until you can convince me that that evidence is reliable and factual,
Hmm.
then why should I consider it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we've been wooed by the superstitious for so long.
Hmm.
And so now we look to more tangible evidence that can be observed, tested,
Right.
hypothesized through the material world to make sense of it. That you would need to give us some solid proof
Hmm.
that supports that the natural world is not, you know, um, explainable through the
Yeah.
forms of naturalism that we have. Like, so, and they'll go, well, that's the problem. You're trying to expect a metaphysical, invisible thing to manifest in the physical. And it's like, well, then why is it? I mean,
Yeah. And
if it wasn't your God, wouldn't you call that a hide and seek deity? Like,
yeah.
I don't see.
And that's part of my point too, is that even if God was metaphysical and just a spirit and whatnot, and it's shown in the Bible that he has been involved in our physical realm before,
Yeah.
and according to the Bible at least. And I'm saying that if that were true, we should see some evidence of that today instead of the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Problematic. The more you look at it for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I understood agnostic to mean that we think that we're open to with that there's possibility of a God if we're an agnostic atheist. And I think that's how Eric has described it. How like I'm open to there might be a God. I can't prove it, kind of thing.
yeah.
But
Like they're holding on. Like there might,
yeah,
I'm
like
not so
maybe there's
sure.
not some chance that there might be a God. We just can't prove it. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, if there is a God, there should be something.
Yeah. I've heard both. I mean, I've heard various ways. The internet, and by the way, if you want the experts on this, just go to any comment section on YouTube and they know better than everybody. Trust me.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. The debates are always happening in the comment section. And I'll have like a PhD who literally wrote, let's say, their dissertation on a topic no one else has, let's say,
Mhm.
or no one else has ever made this argument. And like some random person just, no, this scholar's so wrong. And it's like amazing how they know so much better, so much more than the actual PhDs who know the language, who read the sources, who've actually engaged with
Yep.
all the other arguments out there before they came up with this particular point. And I mean, look, I get it if it was an educated comment that was anchored in other PhDs,
Mhm.
but like oftentimes it's not. It's just, someone on the couch on their phone,
Yep.
just and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's
What do you
why I
think?
wanted to get involved in like the scholars on YouTube, and 'cause it was good information. I could listen to it during work, and I could go, okay, this is what the actual scholars are saying. And there's the DZ deconstruction zone, Justin.
Yep.
Like that guy is a mountain of knowledge,
Yep.
and he knows Hebrew, he knows the Bible backwards, forwards, and I'm just in awe of the stuff that he knows. And I'm just going, yeah, what he's saying makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
And when you learn certain things in the Bible, like for example, when Jesus said that he was coming back in that generation,
Right.
and I'm sitting there going, I'd never heard of this verse before. And so I'm going, how do I make sense of this? And I run into certain things like that, and I have to go into my Bible and go, I have to read it for myself. They
You
said it was
should.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said it was here. Like, I have to go read it myself and find out the context behind this and go,
Yeah.
what is this really saying? Is it saying what they say it says, or does it mean something else? And I'm going, no, that they're right. This is what it says. And
It's
I
it's so apparent that
Yeah,
there's an expectation of the end.
yeah, and that's when I learned about preterism and stuff. I was like, I didn't even know what a preterist was. And I learned that too, and I was going, okay, that doesn't make any sense either. But
Right? There's a lot there. There's a lot there. Joe, um, you how's your life now? That's my final question. My final question is how actually it's a two-pronged one. Okay.
sure,
First, how's your life? Okay, today in terms of beliefs and religion and all that. And then the second prong question is more of like you're talking to someone out there. Okay.
hmm
What's your encouragement, advice? Maybe what would you
sure,
what do you have to say to those people out there that might be watching who are going through a similar journey in life?
sure. So the first question I would say, I mean, I don't go. My wife and I have, we're still working things out, because she's still a staunch believer. She's very much into it. That's her life,
Right.
and it was hard at first when I had to come out. Luckily, we're going through some counseling. We could talk to the counselor about it as well, and we could have a third party involved. So that was very helpful. Um, Anyone who is going through that, I'd recommend going to a counselor as well. Uh, but so my kids know, pretty much everyone, my whole family knows now, and I had to come out little by little. I had to be somewhat strategic in my situation and go, okay, I'm telling my wife, telling my brother, eventually telling my kids. I even had a conversation with my current pastor about the whole thing
Yeah.
after I came out, and that that was a very interesting conversation because with my pastor, um, I had learned so much at this point when I had a conversation with him. It was he's all, oh, what about this? It was very surface level stuff that he was coming out with, and I'm going, oh yeah, the problem of evil, this problem and that problem, and he's going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I had answers for him. I don't think he was expecting because he is a surface level believer. I think I found out because he
Mm,
didn't go through seminary or nothing. He's just this charismatic preacher.
damn.
So,
Okay. Okay. To the second question.
and I even wrote down some of this because you know I like to do that. Um, so to anyone out there who is on the fence, whether they're a Christian, or even if you're an atheist or consider yourself to be one, maybe you're going back and forth. Uh, I would ask you this one specific question that I ask myself, and that is, do you care what the truth is? Do you care what your beliefs are, if they are true or not? You have to ask yourself that one question. Because I had to do that myself when I was deconstructing, because I had to go, do I care if this is true? Or do I just want to believe it just to believe it? Yeah, and that's one of the first things I would ask people. And if you don't care, then continue on doing what you're doing as long as you're not harming somebody, right?
Yep.
And so if you do care what is true, find the scholarships, find the experts that would know if this is true or not. You know, dig into people who disagree with you, find people who agree with you, and find debates, find people who will just talk about it. Get real information to find out why it's real information, why the information you're finding is actual truth. Because we can know things that are true, and we can know things that might be true, and you have to dig into yourself and find out what you believe and why. Um, the second question I would ask people after that, because after the first question, there's no going beyond this if you don't care.
Yeah.
So, um, and the second thing is, through this process, are you willing to consider yourself to be wrong? Are you willing to consider, uh, am I correct? Do I really have the truth? Do I really know this is true? So if you don't know, or if you're not willing to can do that, then you're not willing to be not biased. So you have to really throw that aside and throw your bias aside and go, I have to consider that I might be wrong about something, whether it's politics, religion, whatever even. So you have to ask yourself what's true, why is it true, what is the other side saying, and why are they saying it? I had to ask myself all these questions because I cared what the truth was.
Powerful.
Yeah, and you have to. And my last question is, do you care what the other side is saying? Are you willing to consider what they're saying? Because if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to be non-biased. You have to seek actual truth, and I think that's very important. And that's why I'm here, because I think that we need to live our lives to what is true versus to just what our feelings might be.
Right.
And we can't operate just on our feelings. We have to operate on what's true.
Very important. I think that's a great takeaway, and I really, really appreciate you, Joe, coming on. Your brother hung out in the chat and said, hey, that was cool to have both of you guys. Really, really do appreciate you. And I hope that this encourages others to tell their story, to start, speaking out about what their experience is like. We're all humans. And I think it's powerful that we share our personal experiences.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing it.
Yeah, I very much appreciate you and your channel and for having me on. It's been an honor. And I definitely encourage more people to do this, to speak out. And if you're in the process, the struggle is real, find out what's true.
Yeah. Look, if you have a story and you want to, see if you can get your story out there, write me. Of course, I do want to look and, evaluate what that story might be before I end up just bringing someone on. But please email me. Feel free to email me, mythvisionpodcast@gmail.com. And we could try and make something happen. I really appreciate you, Joe. I'm going to go take the family to dinner. As you know, I'm not in my typical setting. I'm at my mother-in-law's, and it's trying to spend some time with the family while we can. She's got stage 4 stomach cancer.
Right. And I hope you guys are doing as well as you can at this point. So
trying to
travel safe and all that. And
thank you, Joe.
I'll see you later, but you won't see me.
I know, right? All right, Joe. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Like the video, share the video, comment down below your thoughts, and of course, never forget, we are Myth Vision. Peace.
Son, do you want to know what the truth is? After this, there's no turning back. You take the blue pill and you wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.